Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 79 of the 476ers podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk about yesterday's Rockets game. So stay tuned.
Yo. Yeah. Justice for the blind, just something that'll find in the rhymes that are coming from my
Good
mind.
morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 79 of the 476ers podcast. It's a very snowy day. I desperately need a haircut. Please don't mind my hair. However, my beard is magnificent. My haircut means nothing with a beard so luscious. I don't even know what do I advertise for such a beard? I guess I could just advertise my gene pool, my genetics, the DNA that's created such a luscious coat upon which rests my face. So, which rests upon my face, I should say. Anyway, that's too much. I'm sorry for those who I've made feel uncomfortable. We're going to talk about yesterday's Rockets game. It was weird, an interesting game. Not really weird, honestly. We let them into the game. Where do I begin? Let's talk about how the game went. I mean, obviously, we know Ben yesterday. We blow them out essentially in the first half. Nothing really new. We're pretty much just running them out of the building. It really crushing them. We're getting Danny Green out here making three-pointers. As I've mentioned a million times before, his three-point shot doesn't travel unless it's traveling here at home. Unless it's traveling back home, then it comes. He meets the three-point shot, picks him up at the airport. His three-point shot picks him up at the airport. Sometimes he cheats on his three-point shot when he's away, and you'll have him have a good three-point shot game. But then all is well. He doesn't stay with that three-point shot for long. He gets home and he, is reunited with his three-point shot, whom, he loves and doesn't tell the truth. He doesn't tell the three-point shot. He's cheated on that three-point shot. He just moves on and acts like nothing's happened. But that's what keeps the marriage going in some cases. You just act like, that's what keeps them happy. It's, whatever floats your boat. That's not how I would maintain a relationship with my three-point shot. But, if Danny wants to have his three-point shot, be ignorant to his, his lack of loyalty while gone, so be it. Good for him. So Danny plays, is shooting well. Everyone's shooting. Seth is shooting well. We're out here. Matisse stars, which we'll talk about momentarily, and we're running them out of the building. In the third quarter, they start kind of scratching and clawing. Listen, this team, that Rockets team, won. Let's remember they were on a pretty significant win streak, and now they're on a significant losing streak. But they are missing Christian Wood. They're missing Victor Oladipo. They're missing PJ Tucker. So they're missing three very important players. Two of their arguably best players, depending on how is John, where does John fit in now? I would say Oladipo, and the way Christian Wood's been playing, he might be their second best player, and John is a close third, So either way, they're missing two of the three best players, and then they're missing two of their three best role players, or one of their best three role players when it comes to PJ Tucker. So, but the rest of these guys, John Wall, Jason Tate, Ben McLemore, Sterling Brown, Boogie, all of these guys have a thing in common, and that thing is that they've all been quit on. Even Stephen Silas as a coach has been quit on before he even starts, right? That's what happens with James Harden and Russ, essentially. They vie for him, and then they dip on him. So all these guys have been quit on. So you need to really snatch the life away from them. You can't allow them to have life again. So they start scratching and clawing back. And when they were on that win streak previously, it was all based on their defense. It was completely around their defense. And you see them begin locking up a bit in the fourth quarter. And it's not just them locking up. So now there's a mixture of things because we take the foot off the gas. We get lackadaisical. We start bullshitting. They ratchet up their defensive intensity. And before you know it, we have a close game down the stretch, which, luckily we have, a top five player. Doris on the broadcast yesterday, on the ESPN broadcast, said that, if Joe is healthy, engaged, and all that, he's a top five player. And obviously I agree. I agree with the engaged part. Even without him being healthy, he's a top five player in my opinion. You know what I mean? Even if he missed 20 games, he's top five. I think that's easy. If he was healthy for 82 games, along with all the other stuff, he's a top two guy. You know what I mean? Just when it comes down to the defense. And in the beginning of the first quarter, you can see, his back is obviously an issue. It's clearly an issue because he wasn't playing defense in the first quarter. You know what I mean? There was no defense being played in the first 6 minutes of the first quarter. In the first 6 minutes, we were about to give up like probably our highest scoring quarter of the season. You know, they were on fire. Then we lock down, we lock up. They start missing a ton of shots as their starters come out and are replaced with their bench guys. They start missing a ton of shots, luckily. But and not only that, but we also then go into a zone, which here works, right? Because again, against the Jazz, where you have 4 elite three-point shooters, kind of difficult to be in a zone. Four elite three-point shooters and 1 elite driver. It's not like they weren't getting three-point shots. They were getting three-point shots. They were just missing because they don't have any real good. Jae'Sean Tate isn't really a good three-point shooter right now. Ben McLemore isn't really a good three-point shooter right now. Danuel House is an okay three-point shooter, but when you have an elite guy that can draw the defense like James Harden can, then Danuel becomes a very good three-point shooter. But in a situation like yesterday where that's not really happening, he just regresses to the mean. John Wall has never been a good three-point shooter in his career. Boogie is an average three-point shooter. But, you know, it's not anything special. And because 2 things. 1, Joe's back is obviously a concern. 2, it's clear that the Rockets' game plan is to get Joe out of the paint. We decide to counter that with a zone, which works out. And we're now contesting more Boogie threes. We're still contesting threes of average shooters, essentially. No one's able to really drive on Joe, and that pretty much seals the deal for the first half. In the second half, again, we get lazy. They start getting out in transition. They start catching us before we can set our defense. And they make a comeback, you know, and John Wall starts hitting threes. He starts making more shots. You know, I like John Wall. I'm a fan of him. You know, I root for that guy. You know what I mean? I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him. And they make that comeback. Guys who have chips on their shoulder. You know what I mean? It's really that simple. It's just a bunch of guys who have a bunch of chips on their shoulder, and they are not going to quit because they've been quit on so many times. It's not in their DNA to quit. They're going to fucking play the game. So that's what they did, and they made it close. You know, with that said, you know what? I think yesterday's game, I'm going to say that the best player yesterday on the Sixers was Toby. Listen, Joe was always the best player because of everything he means on defense and his ability on offense. He's our closer. He's our best player. I don't think that's really a question. But I think that we didn't get the best Joe yesterday necessarily. He has a ton of turnovers, which he is, you know, it's crazy that someone can rack up 9 assists but in the same breath had these turnovers where it's like, where were you throwing? There's one pass that is like stuck in my mind of him throwing this pass. He's bringing the ball up in transition, and he throws a pass behind Seth. Seth is right next to him. You know, is 5 feet away from him on the left. And for some reason, Joe throws the ball towards half court, and Seth is at the 3-point line. It's like, Joe, where are you throwing this pass? You know, what's up with you? You know, this is crazy. I mean, I don't know what quarterback in the NFL is I'm trying to think of a quarter. You know, McNabb at his peak, right? We used to throw some passes that were like, where is this going? Where was this ball going? You know, Carson last year, who was here in the area that you were throwing? Can this be called intentional grounding? Because no one knows where you just threw this at. And Joe does that sometimes. And you're just, where are you throwing the ball to, Joe? I don't know. Anyway, so a ton of turnovers that can be frustrating. He also thought he was at the Laugh Factory. You know, he thought he was doing his stand-up routine. You know, just cracking. I don't actually give a shit about that much. Him and Boogie have a lot of love for each other. You know, born out of respect, and that's great because honestly, Boogie was the best big man in the league before Joe. There's an argument you could say Marc Gasol, and that's fine. My argument in that scenario, you know, this is going to go a bit of a tangent, but this goes back to what I was saying previously about Ben's defense and how important Joe is to Ben's defense. When Marc Gasol was winning Defensive Players of the Year, you know, it kind of gets ignored that his entire team was really a good defensive team. It was their thing, the grit and grind, right? Is this, we're going to play in the half court, and we're going to play defense. Mike Conley, who, an interesting stat this year, him and Ben are 1 and 2. I don't know I can't remember who's first and who's second, but they're at the top. of opponent field goal percentage when they're contesting. Essentially opponents miss a ton of shots when they contest with a minimum of 200 field goals. They're at the top of the league. Mike Conley's an excellent defender. They had Tony Allen, who literally lives just to play defense. All he lives to do is play defense. I mean, when he leaves the house in the morning, he's defending shit, so he can get it out of his system. He just steals things from people. He gives it back to them later, but he steals things. You know what I mean? He's just a klepto. He just has to. He has to get it out of his system. He can't live without doing that. And Zach Randolph wasn't necessarily a good defensive player, but it's also underrated that Zach was a really good basketball player generally. You know what I mean? So when people would shit on Boogie because of all of that, not even say the antics, but his fire, the way he plays, he gets so angry and so heated and so he's just into it. But he's had shit teammates his whole career. I mean, he has been saddled with trash rosters, trash teammates. And the only few times that he actually had a chance to do something with good teammates, he ends up getting injured. There was the Anthony Davis thing, which was, obviously is not my thing to play in a 4 and a 5 like that, right? I talk about that all the time. I'd rather AD be the 5 and Boogie's a 5, right? I don't like doing that, but the numbers suggested they were really good together. You know what I mean? Those two with Drew was really good, and then Boogie got injured. It just couldn't last. And then, he goes to Golden State. He gets quit on. He goes to Golden State. And then, a chance he plays well in the moments he plays in the finals, he plays pretty well. You know what I mean? Now he spends almost that entire year up and down from injury, never really healthy. KD gets injured. Clay gets injured, doesn't get the opportunity to really win, a championship. And it's kind of a shame, Boogie just never ever gets that opportunity. Then, goes to the Rockets, and he's reunited with John Wall. James Harden's here, and then James leaves, and you got more, and it's a shame. It really is a shame. Boogie is one of my favorite players ever. When you're talking about just skill set, a big man, when there was a dearth of big men in the NBA, there was no one out there, no centers out there that were good. We're looking at Marc Gasol, who would average like an 18-7 because Zach was gobbling rebounds up. And then you had Paul Gasol, obviously, but he was toward the end of his career. Timmy's at the end of his career. And then you had Dwight Howard. And those are your best big men. And then here comes Boogie putting up fucking 50s and 20s and, having these crazy games. The famous the famous whatchamacallit, the famous post-game interview when he scores 50 and as he said, now everyone's going to see what's happening about him getting fouled, and officials not giving him fouls because they didn't like him, honestly. But so obviously Boogie almost hands the reins to Joe, and same thing with Mark. Mark feels that way about Joe too, I think, when I watch them. I think they feel like they hand the reins to Joe, and then a guy like Joker takes a lot of pieces of Marc Gasol's game, a great passer, but really takes it a step further than that. But regardless, so they have this respect, and because of that, Boogie gets up to play Joe. Boogie's never been considered a good defender. However, in my opinion, Boogie has always been a good on-ball defender because of his length. One, he can move really well generally. Just a man his size moves really, really well. And his arms are, he could hug the world. His arms are long because he has so much love inside. He can hug the world. He hugs all of it. And because of that, I think he's a bit of an underrated defender. But then when it comes to team, the NBA, good defense in the NBA is so much about team defense, right? Because a good defensive play might be you getting beat on ball, but maybe you driving someone into the help, right? Which is really what Ben does really, really well that we don't talk about, right? We talk about Ben as this shutdown person, but he can be that, but he is also really smart defensively. He's good at driving people into the help, driving people right into Joe's path, and, they're out of it. Boogie isn't really a great help defender. He gets killed on pick and roll, but if it's a one-on-one defender, a one-on-one defensive situation, that's the case for a lot of NBA players. It's the case for a lot of NBA players. NBA players, the best offensive players tend to fall asleep on defense when they're not actually guarding the ball. But then you'll see these flashes when they are on ball, how much work they'll actually do. And I think because of that, Boogie has some probably, considering some of the stats that Joe has had, and now some of this is also due to his back injury, but 10 for 21 today. That is a great game for Boogie. Great players, when you're defending great players, that's what you're hoping for. You're hoping that 10 for 21 does it. and that we can shut down the rest of the team, right? And I thought that Boogie did a really good job defending Joe. Now, in the first half, Joe was clearly hampered. He was obviously hurt. In the second half, I don't know what they shot Joe with. He took his headband off, and that headband must have, if you watch Naruto, it was kind of like when what's his face took off his hand weights and they broke the ground, and that must have been what that headband must have weighed 36 pounds. He took the headband off, and all of a sudden his back seemed to be cured. And he went to work, and helped close the game out for sure. But really, I thought Toby played great, man. I thought Toby played really, really great yesterday. Really happy with Toby. Did a great job getting to the rim, not settling for bad shots, just kind of getting shots that make sense for him. It's not the sexy game, but that's what Toby has to be best at. Again, like I've talked about, right? Toby, you're never going to have that sexy game, the Paul George, smooth in and out dribble, pull up. It's not you. That's not you. You're going to have this herky-jerky, I'm going to drive, spin, and body up on you. I'm stronger than you, or I'm taller than you. And if not, I'm going to just pop it. I'm going to just catch and shoot as much as possible. And I thought he did that well. The other thing he did great yesterday, obviously, he had 15 rebounds. I mean, rebounded the fuck out of the ball. You know what I mean? Wow. There were a couple plays where he just seemed to dive in out of nowhere to grab a rebound. And, that's great work by him. We don't have Ben, who's our second best rebounder, so Toby decides to kind of take that upon himself to grab a ton more rebounds. He finishes with 5 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, no turnovers, which is a miracle. Toby played great. No mistakes. Yesterday, Toby played mistake-free basketball. You know what I mean? He played to his potential and he played within himself and played mistake-free basketball. And that's, I think, Toby's pocket. That's the pocket Toby needs to be. Don't make mistakes. Don't fuck this up. Be who you are, right? Just be who you are. Get us get timely buckets here and there, and let Joe bring us home. Let Ben create for us, and that's it. One thing that we noticed yesterday, it's clear that I love Seth, and Seth played well yesterday, but he had 5 turnovers, right? And it became evident that when Ben is injured, Seth is an off-ball guard, is what he is. Now, Toby suggested yesterday that he could be a point forward position. He makes a joke about, I'm just practicing until Ben leaves, or he made some joke like that. No, Toby, you're not, okay? But Seth, when I'm talking about point guards, I mean like that floor general point guard, the guy, that is Ben's specialty. Get us into the offense. And Seth kind of struggled with that. Some of it is his size. When you have someone who's Seth's size trying to get the ball into Joe, and you're being defended by a player like John Wall, who is long as fuck, it becomes a little bit more difficult now to get those passes. Whereas Ben at 6'10", can get the ball over all defenders. It's a lot easier for him. And it became clear yesterday that we may, there have been rumors that we were looking at DeLon Wright and a couple other point guards I can't remember. And I think that might make sense. I think trying to trade for a point guard like that, backup point guard, because Shake is not that. Shake is not that. He's not that. Shake is a pure scorer. He is not necessarily someone who's going to dish out 8 assists, and get us into an offense, because you see Shake a ton of times go coast to coast, inbound the ball, and then he tries to finish the play. That's not his game. So having a backup point guard, a legit backup point guard, might actually help us, would probably help us big time in games like yesterday when Ben is out. Not that Ben misses a ton of times generally, but, just may help our backups too. And get Furkan the fuck out of here. I'm sorry. We'll get to you in a second, Furky. Danny, I talked about Danny and his cheating when he's gone. Seth, the good thing, Seth shot the ball really well yesterday. Shot the ball extremely well, was efficient on offense. Did most of his work really in the first half, had a couple buckets in the second half, had a couple really bad turnovers in this. A lot of Danny had 3 turnovers. We have 7 turnovers in the first half. We have 13 turnovers in the second half. We have 7 turnovers in the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? So we get really messy in that fourth quarter. Danny with the stupid offensive foul, and Seth, just a lot of mess. Matisse really showed some things, man. Let me tell you, starting, dare I say, Matisse made an argument to start, at times. I thought he played really, really well. Obviously Joe said it last night. When they go into a zone and you have Matisse, that's really what when you have Ben and Matisse and Joe centering the zone, you have 3 points of defenders that essentially disrupt 80% of the floor. And now we only need Danny and we need Toby or Seth or whomever to just please don't fuck up this other 10. We know Danny cannot fuck up the other 10, but what about Seth, right? And Seth has showed times of playing good defense, but when Matisse is just static. I've been talking about this for 2 years now. He is literally static out there. You know what I mean? Just out there causing static wherever he's at. And I thought I thought he played great defensively, was just fucking active, had 4 steals, 1 block, was active, no turnovers, didn't do too much. I thought he looked good, man. I thought he looked good on defense. I'm happy for him. His offense was whatever. What did he finish? 2 for 2. Was that? Did he finish 2 for 2? Yeah, 2 for 2 on offense. Didn't do a ton, but created so many offensive possessions, especially in that first half. I thought he played great on I thought he defended really, really well. 5 fouls, obviously, you win. You don't want 5 fouls, but again, I didn't feel like they were stupid fucking fouls, right? He did not reunite with Dwight for the stupid fucking foul brothers. I just thought that I thought he played well. Our bench struggled big time. Maxey, you're beginning to get influenced by the green light. I'm noticing in you. A couple times where you said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do." You did the Thanos grabbing the glove. I'm gonna do this shit my motherfucking self. And Tyrese, you gotta chill. You need to chill. Listen, I love your floater. I love how you carry yourself. I love how exfoliated your face is. But my man, you're gonna have to relax a little bit. You're gonna just take a step back and chill. Furkan, wow. Maybe you need to start cheating on your 3-point shot. You know what I mean? You're just a mess. You're just a mess. Him and Dwight are just the stupid fucking decision brothers. Furkan on offense, Dwight on defense. Making just stupid fucking decisions. Dwight the other day grabs another goaltending. Dwight, again, I don't make something I'm going to tell you. If you catch a ball in the air, it's going to be a goaltend. You're not athletic enough like you used to be that you could just do some shit like that. It's a goaltend. You foul a ton. 4 fouls. How many minutes did you play, Dwight, yesterday? How many minutes did you fucking play? 4 fouls in 11 minutes. That's historic. That's a historic pace. Slow down, my man. The fouls are there for you to use, but you don't got to use them in 10 minutes. Slow it the fuck down. And they're all dumb fouls. None of the fouls are good. And then he goes and argues about every one of them. And they're all bad. They're all clear fouls. I out of all the times Dwight has argued about a foul, I watched the replay and not one time have I said, oh, you know what? Dwight got an argument. Nope. I'm like, Dwight, what the fuck are you arguing about? My man, you almost decapitated him. You almost murdered a man just now. That's a foul. It's a foul. Stop. And Furkan, maybe you need to start fouling more. I don't know. I don't know what to say about Furkan. The green light. I don't want to quit on Furkan. I'm not going to say we're going to quit on Furkan or something like that. But man, Furk, you're a freaking mess. And I hate making that fucking joke, honestly. I don't even like making that joke. But damn, Furkan, you're a mess, bro. You're a mess. It says a lot that Isaiah Joe got minutes yesterday. And part of the reason Isaiah Joe got minutes yesterday was because obviously Seth left with an injury, but you could just fill that time with Maxey or Furkan. And I think Furkan might have been in the game. You could just, but either way, the point being, I think some of that is us looking for a spark from 3, and Isaiah didn't shoot particularly well yesterday, but I do think Isaiah played well, had a couple steals. He had his one assist was a really nice pass off a steal up ahead to Matisse to finish it dunk. I thought Isaiah played well. Furkan, aside from you not being good at defense, right now your offense is fucking abysmal. You know what I mean? Your offense is as good as Matisse's right now, maybe worse. And then your defense isn't as good as Matisse's at all. So what, wow, you're struggling. I pray for you. Because again, these are human beings. Let's take a step back. Step back with me, right? Let's drink some chamomile tea. And let's ruminate on these things. Furkan is probably a good person. And I don't mean to be so judgmental about Furkan. I don't. I want him to succeed. I don't want him to not succeed. I don't want him to fail. I want him to succeed. I am talking purely in basketball, right? Purely in basketball. And I know that could be offensive still to some of these guys because basketball is their livelihood. And I could be jokey. I like telling jokes. I like being funny. I like people to laugh. I want people to hear this and laugh. But it's all love, Furkan. It's all love. So you're probably never going to hear this, but if you do, understand that it's not personal, right? I'm just a fan, Philly fan, passionate. I love this. I love this city. I love these sports. And now back to the program. Furkan, you're trash. You're trash right now. Homie, you're trash. I got you in the bin outside. What are you doing? Furkan, you're a mess, man. You're a mess. You're a mess. Hopefully he can regain that shooting stroke. Yesterday is a good game to see exactly how much Ben can create. You see games like that. This is not the first time that we've had this. A couple weeks ago when we played the Trailblazers, it was the same thing. You see why Ben is really important, aside from being one of our best perimeter defenders, but the amount of three-point shots he can create, our offense changes. It's really crazy watching yesterday's game that this thought really crossed my mind that I'm like, man, we're a better half-court team when Ben is playing, and no one would have ever said that in years prior. And that's credit to Ben. As someone who can be critical of Ben, I'm going to give credit and show love where it's due. And he's become a really good half-court player, allowing us to get into our offense and finding ways to be creative so that Joe can go to work. You know what I mean? Or finding ways to get guys involved at shooting threes. So, he really does help our offense. I mean, it is what it is. Again, but my problem with Ben will always be, yes, he creates a ton of three-point shots, but that's because of the ton of opportunities that are available to him since he chooses to never finish. In transition, he chooses to always pass out. Ben, my advice to you, Ben, would be to look to finish just a little bit more. You know what I mean? Look to finish a little bit more, like you did against the Trailblazers. Against the Jazz the other day. Look to finish a little bit more. Passing out and getting threes is good. I don't have any problem with that. But if we go cold, we need buckets. And the easiest bucket sometimes is you just get into the fucking hole, even if it's just a free throw shot. We need a bucket, especially if Joe's not in the game. We need a bucket, get to the rim. That's my advice. You're never going to hear me say, I already went on my diatribe earlier this season about Ben shooting threes and what would it actually take for him shooting threes to make a real difference on this team is not attainable. Not right now, probably not next season either, probably never, honestly. Again, like I said, Ben, you're talking about someone he's going to need to shoot 5 3-pointers a game and go 2 for 5 every time he does. Something like that. He needs to be in that 38 to 40 percentile, the 38 to 40% shooting so that people will actually run him off the 3-point line. Otherwise, they're going to let him shoot open threes until he can show that he can make a lot of them. So right now, continuing to work on your free throw shooting, getting comfortable in game shooting free throws, not being afraid to do that, finding more creative ways to finish. Your post game right now is best described as Blake when he first started playing in the post, right? Towards the end of the last 2 years of the Clippers run, when Blake was no longer the high flying, I'm going to yam on everyone's fucking head, and he became a post player, he used to do this very weird fucking thing. He didn't have a drop step. He was trying to do a drop step. If you don't know what a drop step is, I'm a drop step king. You know what I mean? So it's, for me, my favorite drop step is the over the left shoulder. So, you dribble 1, 2 with my right shoulder going into my defender, left foot drop, rise up and shoot a baby hook shot. That's your drop step. You know what I mean? I'm sweating. That's crazy. I'm sorry. That's your drop step, right? Blake would do this weird thing where he would dribble 1, 2, jump in the air instead of drop stepping, jump in the air and spin and turn and finish. Well, that's what Ben does when he does his weird drop step hook shot thing. You know what I mean? His footwork is really, he needs to work on his footwork. And that'll help him in a ton of ways. Finding ways to spin when he gets to the, going into the lane and just doing a little spin and finish. Finding ways he needs to work on his footwork. Maybe, I guess that's what I should be saying. Finding creative ways to finish includes working on your footwork to be a better finisher. Utilizing a floater. Man, I see, as you can't tell me you can't float because I watch Jokic float all the time. That motherfucker floats anything. You know what I mean? Joker's jumper is a floater, essentially, so you can find ways to float, finding a way to get a floater, work on your footwork, and you can be it. I have been arguing for a long time that the argument of Joe and Ben not fitting was kind of bullshit because these guys who keep going, all they do is go to the playoffs. when they're together. Is the fit perfect? No, but you can build a roster around them to mitigate the imperfections around that fit. And with the way Toby's been playing, if Toby's playing this well, he is the secondary scorer when Joe is out. There still needs to be some work, and we still probably need some point guard help off the bench when Joe's not playing. But I think it can be done, is my point. It can be done. Obviously, having James Harden here, with James, you have games like when the Nets just played the Suns the other day and beat them with no Kyrie, no KD, make a comeback, and it's James finishing with 38 and 12 assists, right? There is no one on the upside with that. You know what I mean? Even though Ben showed some of that against the Jazz, right? He showed something there, so being that aggressive. So, that's my point. I want Ben to succeed, and I want Ben to stay here. It's frustrating when the first month of the season you're watching him throw it away because he's just bullshitting, it feels like, right? And then all of a sudden he gets all this urgency, and you're like, this is the all-star this is the guy I think is an all-star. You know what I mean? At times. So we'll see. Toby played great. You get the player of the game award, Toby. Joe, you played great too. Your back is concerning me, it's scaring me. His quotes were great. I thought his quotes would really assuage the fears of people who, are afraid right now. You know what I mean? But I am not assuaged, because I've had back problems and I know what it's like to be dealing with those back problems, man. That shit sucks. Like, it sucks and it never goes away. It's really difficult to deal with. When it gets tight, it's really difficult to loosen up. So we'll see. I think that, he'll get voted to be a starter in the All-Star game. I think, again, like I'm going to keep saying, it's best for him to sit that game out. That's it. Just sit the game out. So that's it, everyone. We got the on Saturday, right? No, is it Friday? Man, who do we play right now? I don't remember who we play next. I had it in my head, and now I've come to, we play the Bulls Friday night. Duh. Look how quickly I remembered that. The Bulls Friday night, right? Let's take a look here. Yeah, we play the Bulls. I hate when our games are on ESPN. Like, I like it on one side, but on the other side, I hate it because the 7:30 game starts at 7:45. It fucking drives me crazy. The 7:30 game would start at 7:41 on a regular network, or we'd be playing at 7 a.m., at 7 p.m., which is the time we usually fucking play. But whatever, no problem. I'm not taking it personal. We're gonna see. We're gonna need Ben. We're gonna need someone to lock up Zach. Zach is playing really well. I mean, you see it right here, 29, 6, and 5 right there. Rounding up 29, 5, and 5 pretty much. Zach is playing great, man. Winning basketball, in my opinion. 12 and 15 is one of the best records for a team he's been on, and they don't have a ton of stuff. They just got Wendell Carter back. Lauri's constantly missing time. Kobe is up and down. They're not relying on a ton of guys. Patrick Williams is playing really well. Yesterday, he hit a big-ass three-pointer, had no emotion about it. It was pretty wild to see. I mean, he's a rookie. He's 19 years old, hits the biggest three-pointer of the game, almost a game winner. He ties the game. They're down 3. He ties the game and reacts like nothing happened. You know what I mean? Kind of how OG reacted in the playoffs last year. So we'll see. Zach is playing great. Zach likes to go off against us. Guards like to go off against us. Hopefully Zach doesn't bake us. We'll need Ben to shut that down if possible. And we'll see what happens. I think we should win that game. I don't see why we would lose, but we are capable of losing games like that, especially if Joe is injured. Listen, if Joe was healthy, Wendell Carter has nothing for Joe. He has nothing to say to Joe. But Wendell is 6'9". He can't even reach Joe. You know what I mean? If he needs a step stool. So we'll see. That's it. Everyone, wash your hands. You know the drill. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Black Lives Matter. Arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. Tory Lane's hairline is fucked up. That's it. Stay safe.
Yeah. Justice for the blind. Just something that'll find in the rhyme that are coming from my mind. Used to come